Conflict is often seen as negative by most people. Some people try to avoid it, but sometimes it is unavoidable. There are 5 ways to handle conflict. First is to ignore. Second, accommodate. Third, compete. Fourth, compromise. And fifth, collaborate. There are pros and cons to using any of these ways to handle conflict. This video will demonstrate the possible results when a student named Julie uses these approaches for a conflict she is experiencing. The reception desk in the Student Affairs office is shared and managed by several student workers. Marquise, a student worker, does not use the garbage can and always leaves the front desk a mess. Let's see how it makes Julie, another student worker, feel when they find dirty candy wrappers on the desk. Julie is obviously upset about Marquise leaving trash on the desk. She ponders her options on how to handle the situation. Julie chose to ignore it, but clearly it is affecting her ability to concentrate. It is distracting her and affecting her work performance or school performance. Sometimes ignoring the problem just to avoid confrontation or that difficult conversation affects your relationship with that person. You have little patience and find it hard to enjoy any moment with that person. Sometimes the person doesn't understand, and that problem is never resolved. See what happens if Julie decides to accommodate Marquise and throw out Marquise's trash. Sometimes accommodation can work, but sometimes it can cause a buildup of negative emotions. Here, Julie started off being semi-okay with accommodating Marquise and becoming more and more frustrated with Marquise. This growing frustration can lead to negative reactions that may lead to very negative results. This buildup of frustration can affect your relationships, your mood, and your overall work and academic performance. Your unresolved frustration with one person can also affect your relationship with other people. Sometimes a buildup of negative emotions can lead to passive-aggressive behavior, which is unproductive. See what happens if Julie decides to react immediately to Marquise's mess and compete with Marquise by expressing every thought that Julie has ever felt about the situation. Here, Julie is only insulting Marquise instead of communicating her needs and goals, which is to respect the student worker station. Most times, addressing the conflict by means of competition does not end well. Let's see what happens if Julie decides to compromise. Julie does not want anyone's feelings to get hurt and so explains to Marquise that he needs to throw out his own garbage, but if he forgets, she would be happy to throw it out for him. Sometimes compromise can be a good way to resolve conflict, but sometimes the root of the problem is still not resolved, leaving you still frustrated. See what happens if Julie decides to collaborate. Julie decides to find a neutral place and the right time to speak with Marquise. Julie decides to put her emotions in check and really think about how to explain to Marquise her feelings. She does not call Marquise a disrespectful slob, rather thinks about the deeper issue, which is that Julie wants to come to a clean workspace and feels that all student workers should work together to make that happen. Marquise agrees that the front desk should look professional and clean and realizes that he needs to be more mindful. There are pros and cons with the 5 different ways to handle conflict. But ultimately, if you value the relationship with the person and the concern of the matter is affecting your well-being, it is important to engage in a meaningful conversation with that person and collaborate with them in reaching a resolution. Imagine your feelings like an iceberg. Above the water lies a small piece of the iceberg, but below the water surface lies the true mass of the iceberg. Like the iceberg, most of the time we communicate only what is on top of the surface. These are the insults and demands. Insults and demands only makes the other party more defensive, resulting in a less successful outcome. In order to reach a successful collaboration, parties should discuss what is below the surface, which is their true need and why it is important to them. By communicating clearly what is a true concern and why it is important to that person, parties can work together on reaching a resolution. Remember, conflict does not always have to be viewed as negative, but should be viewed as an opportunity to improve the situation or relationship. Although the con to collaboration is that it takes more time and effort to be honest and to talk about difficult things, it can truly lead to positive results, improve your relationship with that person, and thus make it a collaborative effort in order to reach a resolution.